engineer communicating with NASA astronaut and commander of Crew 9, Nick Hague, that they had a good out-of-plane prop waste burn that lasted a little more than 13 minutes, and now that sets them up for the deorbit burn coming in about 45 minutes from now. On board the Dragon Freedom spacecraft, Commander Nick Hague joined alongside NASA astronauts Butch Wilmore, Sonny Williams, and Roscosmos cosmonaut Alexander Gorbanov. After a long-duration mission aboard the International Space Station for Wilmore and Williams, 286 days in microgravity. For Nick Hague and Alexander Gorbanov, 171 days will be coming to a close, and again about an hour and 31 minutes from now, with the targeted splashdown of 4:57 p.m. Central Time, 5:57 p.m. Eastern Time. This will be our last audio update, and we encourage those that have been tuned in on the NASA social channels to move on over to NASA Plus, or you can follow along on the NASA YouTube channel as well, the agency's website at nasa.gov, and social media beginning at 3:45. We will team up the NASA teams and SpaceX for joint coverage of reentry and splashdown. That is 3:45 p.m. Central Time, 4:45 p.m. Eastern Time. As Commander Nick Hague, Butch Wilmore, Sonny Williams, and Alexander Gorbanov entering that last leg before the deorbit burn and eventual splashdown and return home for Crew 9. This is Mission Control, Houston.
Is with you.
All right, we are 37 minutes out from deorbit sequence start and an hour and a half from splashdown. Through splashdown, I'm tracking no deltas to your crew timeline larger than a minute, so you can expect those times to be accurate. We're not tracking any issues on board Dragon. Recovery vessel Megan is standing by off the coast of Tallahassee, and we're tracking no issues on the boat. Weather out there continues to look excellent. Winds are just under 4 knots, waves just over 1 foot with an 8-second period.
Like a beautiful day down there.
It sure does. Freedom, SpaceX. SpaceX is go for deorbit entry and landing. Deorbit sequence start in 30 minutes.
Good copies, go for deorbit sequence and landing for 30 minutes.
Freedom, SpaceX. Be advised, in 2 minutes we'll have a 13-minute TDRS LOS. I'll catch you on the other side in time for deorbit sequence start.
And if you're just joining us, welcome here to the launch pad and our live coverage of Crew 9's return to Earth. NASA and SpaceX are getting ready to begin their live coverage, and we will patch them in. We are just 26 minutes away from the deorbit burn and at 1 hour, 12 minutes from splashdown. If you haven't yet, take a moment, engage that like button, share out the stream, invite people to join us. We'll be answering your guys' comments and questions. You can send those in the chat by tagging us at the launch pad as we follow along over the next 90 minutes as Crew 9 with Butch and Sunny finally get to come home. We'll also be taking you all the way through the recovery operations of Crew Dragon Freedom as well, so make sure you don't...
Good afternoon and welcome to our live coverage of the NASA SpaceX Crew 9 mission as it returns to Earth. Dragon Freedom departed the International Space Station at 1:05 a.m. Eastern. That was 10:05 p.m. Pacific time on March 17th for those of us here in California. On board Crew 9 are NASA astronauts Nick Hague, Sunny Williams, Butch Wilmore, and Roscosmos cosmonaut Alexander Gorbanov. And they are now on their way to the targeted splashdown site off the coast of Tallahassee, Florida. My name is Kate Tice, Senior Quality Systems Engineering Manager here at SpaceX. And joining me today from NASA Communications is Sandra Jones.
Thanks, Kate. It's always such a pleasure to be here. Upon departing the International Space Station, Dragon underwent a sequence of departure burns. The crew then had a rest period and has since kicked off preparations for re-entry, including getting into their spacesuits and successfully performing a leak check. The next phase of the mission is when things will really start to amp up. Dragon has a series of steps to complete before returning Crew 9 home.
That's right. First, Dragon will maneuver to the correct attitude and jettison its trunk, which is the cylindrical, unpressurized lower part of the spacecraft. The trunk is currently connected to the aft or bottom section of Dragon, where the heat shield is located. But in order to expose that heat shield and get the vehicle ready for atmospheric reentry, we're going to jettison that trunk.
From there, the spacecraft will use its forward thrusters to perform a deorbit burn, which will put Dragon on a trajectory to return to Earth. This burn will last about 7.5 minutes once it starts. The deorbit burn uses Draco thrusters on Dragon, primarily the 4 located on the forward bulkhead, and is executed at the apogee, or the highest point of Earth's current orbit around the Earth. This deorbit burn will alter Dragon's path to ultimately line it up to re-enter Earth's atmosphere and splash down off the coast of Florida. Splashdown today is planned for 2:57 p.m. Pacific or 5:57 p.m. Eastern.
The Crew 9 mission began a little differently than usual, since Butch Wilmore and Sunny Williams were already aboard the space station when Nick Hague and Alexander Gorbanov arrived in the Crew 9 spacecraft in September. Having arrived as the crew flight test crew for Starliner, Wilmore and Williams were fully incorporated into the space station's Expedition 72 team and began research and other work aboard the station along with the other crew members. Additionally, Williams commanded the orbiting laboratory for much of the expedition.
And after a successful liftoff and separation from Falcon 9, Nick and Alexander made a short flight on board Dragon to the International Space Station in September. Both veterans of long-duration station missions, both Williams and Wilmore conducted spacewalks during their 9 months in space. Having had the capacity to leave the station at any point, had there been some type of emergency, the crew members began packing for their voyage home about a week ago and worked through tasks and shared lessons learned with the newly arrived Crew 10 team, who arrived just a few days ago.
For return operations such as this, NASA and SpaceX closely coordinate with the United States Coast Guard to establish a safety zone to ensure public safety and for the safety of those involved in the recovery operations, as well as the crew on board the returning spacecraft. Multiple notices are issued to mariners in advance of and during recovery operations, and Coast Guard patrol boats are deployed to discourage boaters from entering the splashdown zones.
Now, we do want to stress to the public the need to respect this safety zone. Recovering a spacecraft from the water is a hazardous task, and any other boats interfering increases risk to the astronauts in Dragon, the teams working to recover them from the water, and the safety of those that come too close. So, for the safety of the crew and your safety, we recommend you sit back and watch as we'll be bringing you the best possible views of our astronauts' homecoming.
And they will be the best views that you can get. So, let's take a minute to meet our returning crew. U.S. Space Force Colonel Nick Hague is your Crew 9 commander. He was selected by NASA as an astronaut in 2013. This was his second spaceflight to the International Space Station and third launch overall. He spent 171 days in space with Crew 9 and has a career total of 374 days in space. During his mission, he completed a spacewalk with astronaut Sunny Williams. That was his fourth spacewalk, earning him a career total of 25 hours, 56 minutes of spacewalking time. Before Crew 9, Hague previously served as a crew member of Expedition 59 and 60 back in 2019. He flew with Alexei Ovchinin and NASA's Christina Cook. So, this is his second time sharing the space station with Ovchinin. The Kansas native is a test pilot of a distinguished graduate of the United States Air Force Academy. Nick spent 5 months in Iraq in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom. He voluntarily transferred from the United States Air Force to U.S. Space Force in 2021 and is an active colonel. His wife, Katie, is a retired U.S. Air Force colonel, and they have 2 sons.
NASA astronaut Sunny Williams is a mission specialist for Crew 9. This was her third visit to the space station. She originally launched aboard Boeing Starliner spacecraft and arrived at the space station on June 6th. And it looks like we are beginning to get some views inside the spacecraft, overlooking the shoulders of the crew on board Dragon. We'll continue to bring you those views throughout the day and views throughout splashdown this afternoon rather. But to jump back into a little bit more about Sunny, she became an Expedition 71-72 crew member, and she logged 286 days in space on this mission. But she actually has a total of 608 days in space, the second most time in space by a U.S. astronaut. Former NASA astronaut Peggy Whitson ranks first for the U.S. with 675 days in space. She conducted 2 spacewalks and has completed 9 over the course of her career for a total of 62 hours and 6 minutes of spacewalking time. She ranks 4th on the list of cumulative time spacewalking by a female astronaut. And she has flown on 4 different spacecraft types, including the Space Shuttle, Soyuz, Starliner, and now Dragon. Previously, she served on Expedition 14 and 15 in 2006 and 2007, and again with Expedition 32 and 33 in 2012. She's a retired U.S. Navy captain and is a proud graduate of the U.S. Naval Academy.
NASA astronaut Butch Wilmore is also serving as a mission specialist today. This is his 3rd spaceflight and, just like Sunny, logged 286 days in space. He conducted 1 spacewalk and completed 5 over the course of his career, earning him a total spacewalking time of 21 hours, 2 minutes. He's flown on 4 different spacecraft types throughout his career: the Space Shuttle, Soyuz, Starliner, and now Dragon. Previously, the Mount Juliet, Tennessee native served on STS-129 in 2009 and Expedition 41 and 42 from 2014 to 2015. Wilmore is also retired, a retired captain in the U.S. Navy.
And Alexander Gorbanov is a 3rd mission specialist serving on today's mission. Crew 9 was his very first space flight to the space station, earning him a total of 171 days in space over the course of his career. Gorbanov, along with Nick Hague, saw the arrival of 4 visiting vehicles and saw the departure of 4 as well. The duo orbited the Earth more than 2,700 times during their mission. Before his cosmonaut selection in 2018, Gorbanov worked as an engineer for a rocket space corporation and helped support cargo spacecraft launches from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan.
To prepare for upcoming events, Dragon is currently doing a couple of things autonomously. First, it's isolating the thermal control system fluid loops from the radiator. This system is what will help keep the internal temperature of Dragon very comfortable for Nick, Sunny, Butch, and Alexander during the re-entry phase. Dragon is also initiating separation of the claw mechanism, which will terminate data, power, and fluid connections between the spacecraft and the trunk in preparation for that trunk separation that I mentioned earlier. Now, as we saw before, we are hoping to get more views inside of the Dragon capsule. We will bring those, of course. We want to see more of our 4 crew members. But now a bit more of the Dragon Freedom capsule. It has flown on several missions for NASA. It first launched April 27th, 2022. To the International Space Station on NASA's SpaceX Crew 4 mission. It was subsequently used for 2 private spaceflight missions to the space station for Axiom Space, Axiom Mission 2 in May 2023, and Axiom Mission 3 in January of 2024. Space Station on NASA's SpaceX Crew 4 mission. It was subsequently used for 2 private spaceflight missions to the space station for Axiom Space, Axiom Mission 2 in May 2023, and Axiom Mission 3 in January of 2024. On the left-hand side of your screen there, and Mission Specialist Alexander Gorbanov there on the right.
That's right, Kate. And the next major milestone that we're looking ahead towards
that we have once again between the shoulders of Commander Nick Hague, who is on the left-hand side of your screen there, and Mission Specialist. To maintain a pressure in the unlikely event of a depressurization event for Dragon. So there we can see those screens I was talking about. So there in the center, we've got the location tracker, as well as on the left-hand side, it's mapping out the operations that Dragon is executing. the crew has to remain well informed of all these things that Dragon is doing autonomously. That basically means that Dragon is flying itself. The crew has the ability to control the capsule if necessary, but the capsule is essentially going to bring itself home. But of course, in order to
Freedom,
be familiar
SpaceX.
with
The orbit sequence starts in 5 minutes.
So we did hear that call out for the deorbit sequence start.
around 2:20-ish. Typically, before we enter the period of loss of signal, or LOS, we will hear an entry briefing from the core, the Crew Operations Resource.
welcome aboard the SS.
Peony-1 LC.
Go for Peony-1.
Verify HB storage mask.
Let's get going. Now let's put some fire in this rocket.
Confirmation of contact and capture of NASA's Boeing crew flight test and Starliner. Lots of cheering here in the room. Big hugs. Sunny William coming through in her blue flight suit. And followed shortly behind by
I wish you good luck, nominal descent, soft landing, and all the best. Don't worry, you are leaving station in good hands. We will miss you.
Trajectory to splashdown off the coast of Florida.
Deorbit burn complete. Performance nominal. Nose cone closure initiated.
Freedom copies.
All right, excellent news there. We heard the words we were looking for, nominal burn. So that means that deorbit burn was successful but we don't have those available at the moment due to ground station coverage. So we will bring those back to you as soon as we can. Now, after Dragon Freedom has re-entered the Earth's atmosphere, a series of parachutes will deploy to slow the crew's descent. First will be the 2 drogue parachutes, followed by the 4 main parachutes, and those will guide Dragon to its first contact with Earth since it launched back in September. Dragon will automatically deploy these parachutes when different pressure and positioning sensors on the spacecraft detect that they're at the right speed and altitude.
Vehicle velocity at drogue deploy is approximately 350 miles per hour, and they deploy at about 18,000 feet. Now, when the vehicle velocity at main deploy is approximately 119 miles per hour, and they deploy at about 6,500 feet. When Dragon splashes down in the water, the vehicle velocity will be about 16 miles per hour, so you can really see how those parachutes help to slow down the crew inside the capsule. The highest G-load the crew is expected to experience today is about 3 to 5 Gs.
Yeah, when you think about really fun roller coasters, they're about in that range. So I'm sure that our crew on board will be well equipped to experience those Gs. It's nothing for them. They go through much more intense training.
And so we are continuing to